But it does get you thinking, doesn't it? Can any of us who is a parent really know how would we react if we were in the same situation? I know you'll say, I would do the right thing. I know you'd say that. But Wyoming is a death penalty state. And before all of this, those Laundries were just average American grandparents. Love and morals are two very different things, no matter how tight the spot you are in. Joining us now to help us break this down is forensic psychiatrist Dr. Michael Wellner. Dr. Wellner, it's good to see you. I just would love for you to weigh in on this. How hard is it for us to put ourselves in the Laundrie's shoes when we all, throw the epithets, do the right thing, turn your son in? How hard is that to do in real time?
I think the first place that one starts from a forensic psychiatric perspective is the dynamic within the family. Very often, in our experience, when a fugitive has focus on the family to assist in a search, the family's alienated from that person of interest because of previous antisocial behavior. When you have someone who's close to their loved ones, they're invested in seeing the best in him. And so we don't know what he told them, but what we can expect is that they would be invested in seeing things from his perspective and his account. So while many people around the country and maybe massing on the family grounds and maybe hurling all kinds of anger at the family, we have to remember that they're not necessarily going to see things the way others see them, because they can always say, we know him more than you do. And so he may be guilty of the worst of crimes, of the most depraved of crimes committed on Gabby. But at the same time, if he's been in touch with his family and he's communicated to them an account, they're going to be invested in believing him. And we have to expect that, and we have to respect that, because that's a human nature that comes before any decision to cooperate with law enforcement.
Right, and we have to remember that Gabby's death has not been deemed a murder yet. I suspect it will, but I don't know that. And we only have a bank fraud charge at this point. So we have to be very measured in, what these people are saying, blood on the hands and all the rest. Can you tell me, Dr. Wellner, what it takes for a person to pick up in their lives that are so, disconnected to this Florida family and travel, thousands of miles in order to protest, out in front of that house? What does it take inside someone to want to be connected to this story like that when heretofore they weren't?
People are very affected by high exposure crimes, and people can become over-involved just based on their emotional connection to how a case is presented. And I think it happens a lot more frequently in the age of 24-hour news media and in the age of social media, where people develop an interest in a story. They can have a continuous appetite fed, whether it's through social media or through vivid and dramatic news exposure, and people can become over-involved. Forensic mental health professionals, psychiatrists, psychologists remember the story of JonBenet Ramsey, and remember John Mark Carr, who became so over-involved in the case that he ultimately gave a false confession to her murder. And that was a culmination of him just being fixated on the case, participating in chats, and just organizing his life around it. So media has an enormous impact. It can be a great asset to law enforcement. I worked on the Elizabeth Smart case, and Brian David Mitchell would never have been captured if John Walsh weren't calling attention to the unsolved crime and people weren't out looking for the features of someone who might be responsible for the kidnapping. Just as in your last segment, you were talking about Brian's physical features to aid people who might see something and say something. So that's a very positive role that media can play. But at the same time, there are people who watch, get very caught up in the dramatics, and also recognizing that where there are cameras, people go to cameras like bugs go to the light. And they may go to a place that has high exposure, but if the cameras weren't there, they might not be on the doorstep. So I can't really speak to the motives of individuals, but emotions create a pitch. And that goes all the way back to when people were carrying torches and pitchforks to suspects and doing frontier justice.
Yeah.